Kris Kristofferson, hello.
Hello.
I feel like I should call you Mr. Kristofferson.
That's a little embarrassing right at the beginning.
Okay. Let me embarrass you more. You are going to turn 70 years old in June.
That's not embarrassing. That's amazing.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm inclined to say is we should all look this good now.
Oh, boy.
How are you?
I saw myself this morning. You can't fool me on that
Well,
one.
I want to ask you about being 70 because you seem immortal to a lot of us out here in the world who've been following your career, and you seem to be in good health and in good spirits, and new record out, and in a new film, at least one film coming out. How are you continuing to go with the old level of energy?
Well, I don't feel particularly energetic right now.
You don't?
But
well, you're faking it pretty good.
I got a real nice family. I got 8 kids and a bunch of grandkids, and I guess that well, it keeps me on the road. I got a bunch of them in school right now.
Yeah.
That have 3 are in college, and that keeps you working.
Yeah. But obviously also keeps you in perspective, because for you to say that the path to doing good work and good things is your family, that means you've got your priorities in order.
Yeah, and my wife does all the work, so
well,
that helps. I think I probably made myself unmarketable for a while just with a lot of the political activist things that I was doing, like going down to Nicaragua and some things that made it hard for the record company to market me as a country artist. But
you're in good company, though.
Well, I think they get more tolerant of you as you get older, or they get used to you or something. Right. But I give Don Was credit for putting out this last one, because he wanted me to do it basically the way I'm touring now, is by myself, with playing just with the guitar and the harmonica, and that's about what we did on the record.
It's a very spare record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's been well received, so surprisingly so for me.
Do you still enjoy making music?
Oh yeah.
You must, if you're still doing it.
I do. Like I say, I really enjoy the performing part. It still scares me to death before I get out there, but
after all these years, it still scares you?
Yeah.
I guess that's comforting to know that even Kris Kristofferson gets scared.
Well, I always have been, and it's kind of like going into a boxing match or something, where you're really scared before you get up there, but once somebody hits you in the face,
right.
you get used to what you're doing.
You're the rare person who can actually make that boxing reference and have it mean something, because you were a Golden Gloves boxer in your earlier days.
Yeah, I was never a professional, but I loved it.
Anybody who gets in the ring ever gets credit, I think, right?
Or blame.
Or blame, depending upon how it turns out. It's astounding when you think about, or when I think about, that most people associate you with music first, and then he's done some film work on the side. It's almost like your film work is as important.
Well, I think it probably got more publicity than my music for a number of years there.
Right.
Probably. But the truth is, I started them both at the same time. If I weren't a songwriter, I would never got to do either one. But I started in 1970 out at the Troubadour in Los Angeles, and a bunch of film people were there, and I got film offers right from the top.
The two ones that stand out in my mind are the remake of A Star Is Born, which was a very big film.
Yeah.
And then Lone Star, which was a very small film, but was a great film, and may in fact be the best film about Texas, it is said, I'll say it, ever made.
I love that.
And that's 10 years ago. That was it released 10 years ago. John Sayles directed it. You and that nice Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Chris Cooper.
And Chris Cooper.
Who was so great in that movie.
Oh, he's great, period.
Elizabeth Pena.
No matter where he is.
What do you remember about making that film? I'm not actually sure which exact town it was shot.
In Eagle Pass.
Down in Eagle Pass.
And the minute I drove in there, I remember I rented a car at the airport and drove in, and I had turned on the radio and was hearing a bunch of Mexican music, and it took me right back to Brownsville, where I grew up.
Yeah.
And it even smelled the same. I felt like some old dog who'd just gone home, and realized he's home again.
There's my scent.
Oh, it was great. It was wonderful. And of course, working with John Sayles is terrific.
Your dad, you said, was in the Army, Air Corps, and then the Air Force. Was he gone a lot?
Yes, he was gone a lot, particularly like during the Second World War, and he was activated again in Korea. But when he was a civilian, he was an airline pilot, for Pan American, so he was going a lot all the time.
Right.
But great old man.
He directed you, sort of, to go into the military as well, right?
Yeah, well, my whole family background, my grandfathers were both military people, and back in those days, the military was a fact of life.
Right.
You would be drafted if you hadn't gone into ROTC in college or whatever, which is what I did.
Right.
But I served about 5 years in the military. Was a helicopter pilot over in Germany.
Look back on that fondly?
Well, yeah, I didn't really know what I was going to do. I wanted to do something creative, but I didn't know how you did that, how you could make a living that way. And I could never have stayed in the Army. I think I had broken too many rules.
Maybe an issue with authority, possibly?
Yes,
yeah.
It was not an atmosphere that was very creative for me.
Doesn't nurture a lot of creativity.
No.
Well, you know, I'm reminded, though, that you're not the typical person who went in the military because he had no other opportunity. You went to Pomona College.
Yeah.
And you were a Rhodes Scholar.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. And for a Rhodes Scholar to make the decision, even if it was inevitable that it would happen through the draft, I'm going to serve the country and I'm going to do this stuff in the military, that's pretty good.
I think I would have felt remiss, or like the black sheep of the family, if I hadn't gone in and served my country. But I'm glad I got out. I'm glad I made the jump when I did. It took more courage to go to Nashville and try and be a songwriter than it did to go to Vietnam or something.
Oh, really?
I had volunteered to go to Vietnam, but thank God they had another assignment for me. I was supposed to go to teach English up at English Lit at the Academy at West Point.
Yeah.
I couldn't. It scared me to death.
And so you went.
So I went from there to Nashville and spent 2 weeks there, hanging out with it. My platoon leader had a relative there, Mary John Wilkin, who was a songwriter and a publisher, and wrote Long Black Veil and everything. And she showed me around with all these people who seemed to stay up all night and play songs to each other, and they were all in love with it. Yep. And I fell for it.
That was the creative part that you were looking for.
Yeah. I just knew that I was home, and that was what I was supposed to do. Unfortunately, the rest of my family didn't feel the same enthusiasm that I had. Yeah. They thought I'd lost my mind. And
well, you became that black sheep after all, right?
Well, yeah, for a while. Years later, we got close again.
Oh,
but for a while there, it looked like I had lost my mind. And even my brother thought I had, and he's pretty close to me.
Yeah. Well, Nashville was a particular type of place, right, at that moment.
It was like Paris in the 20s. It was, for me.
Yeah.
It was people just so crazy about the act of being creative and knocking each other out with what they were doing, and everybody just loved what they were doing. And loved music and loved songwriters and songwriting.
It's a fun place to be.
Oh yeah. And the heroes, for the guys who were trying to make it, who were really serious about raising the respect for country music and everything, the heroes were Johnny Cash and Willie Nelson and Roger Miller. And one of the blessings of my life is that I ended up being friends with all of them.
And,
really
in
close.
fact, working, not only friends, but you were like collaborators.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
And that's it's kind of amazing to me now. At the time, I think I took it for granted more than I should have. But it was wonderful.